everyone, it's Carl again. We have done a 2-episode introduction to Savage Worlds and character creation in anticipation to Eric's one-shot, 2-session game that we're going to put on the channel. So if you haven't watched the first episode, which is all about the rules and kind of a summary, you might want to watch that. This episode is all about the character creation and walking through what it takes, teaching these new players who are primarily D&D folks how to do it. So if you're here for session 2, this is for you.
So roll. It's a savage world. Strangers a weird world.
Okay, character creation. We're going to do this today with James and Lytrenni. The other 2 players, I'll do that off camera. And then, of course, Carl's already made his character. Carl's playing in the game. That will be exciting. But yeah, so James, Lytrenni, new to the system. You each have your own character sheets. So let's just overview the basic terms of a sheet. Edges, like we said before, are the mini feats. They're kind of like the little bonuses that help you do the things you want to do better. And they have a very wide variety of applications. Hindrances are your flaws. Those are your character flaws that really bring a lot of fun to the game. And then we have your skills, which is when you want to do something, that's what you'll roll. And then you have your traits, your attributes. And these are kind of the base, you guys know what this is. If you play any tabletop games, these are your strength, constitution, whatever. Now, the cool thing about skills that we have to know as we're getting into this is that each skill has a linked attribute. So fighting is linked to agility. Science is linked to smarts. Persuasion is linked to spirit. And this matters for 2 reasons. One is for tests and opposed rolls, but the main reason that we're worried about tonight is when you're giving points into your skills, it's going to cost, when you ever have skill points, it costs 1 point to raise your die up, to either begin with a D4, like trained at a skill, and then raise it up a die type. It costs 1 point until you get to where the linked attribute is, if that makes sense. So in our example, say we have a persuasion of a D4 and you have a spirit of a D6, it would cost 1 point to bring your persuasion to a D6. And then if you wanted that persuasion at a D8, it would cost then 2 points to bring it to a D8. And then another 2 points to bring it to a D10. So often if you have a lot of skills that you want to be good in, and they're all linked to the same attribute, you want to raise that attribute beforehand, which makes your skills more efficient when you're giving them boosts, if that all makes sense.
Yep, because
that's
it's
the very
cheaper to
basic.
get it up to that baseline. I understand.
Exactly. Cool. So starting out, we're going to, so just very quickly, this game is a urban fantasy kind of near future, a little bit of cyberpunk elements, not that much. Think of it as Men in Black without aliens, but supernatural creatures. And they are all agents of an organization that's called the World Headquarters for Occult Analysis, or known as Whoa. Agents of Whoa. Exactly. So it's obviously going to be a little tongue-in-cheek. So they're all kind of eccentric agents that make up a team that goes out and investigates the mysteries of the Under, which is the supernatural underworld. Protects normal citizens or supernaturals from threats, and investigate kind of occult occurrences. And they're all around the world. So that's what we're playing as today. So real quickly, we'll start with you, James. What is your character concept?
It's a weird one. I like him. I think he's going to be great. Diderot is a libertarian, is my thinking. It's kind of this. I was thinking French because French is awesome. So I'm thinking like laissez-faire, c'est la vie, everyone is free. More freedom is more awesome. And my thought is that he's kind of a bit like a cult leader himself. There's a high level of charisma. There's a high level of kind of persuasive powers. But then I thought, let's kick it up a notch and let's have a bit of psionic mind control and a little bit of this kind of chaos that would come with liberty, with freedom. Everyone's free to choose. Everyone's free to do what they want. So I'm not sure about the setting, but my sense is that there's a freedom fighting against evil that things might control, but also a nice role-playing point where if we're working for an order, then I might be a little bit of the chaotic element within that order where I might do kind of my own thing. Going with normal tropes, I'm thinking, he's probably an arsehole, he's probably an arrogant little shit, overconfident. Physically, probably not great. I'm thinking, and feeble, anemic kind of vibe where he's not overly strong and overly tough, but uses others to kind of do his bidding in some ways, is my thought. And so I was caught a bit on this old psionic versus spiritual deity kind of side, because liberty comes from a Roman god Liber, so that could have worked, or Lady Liberty or something like that. I'd take your guidance on that, because I did want to play a very charismatic character, but psionics is more linked to smarts, right? So I'd be working in two worlds in some ways. Is that doable?
It certainly is. Anything is doable. It's just how Savage Worlds gives the ability to have multiple things you're good at. You can kind of be a jack of all trades. You can be more specific, but generally you can have, what you do kind of in combat or what you kind of do out of combat. You're going to be playing one of our two people who have powers, which is definitely a requirement, and we'll talk a little bit about powers when we get to you at the end. Powers generally kind of takes up a bigger chunk of character stuff, because if you want to be good at powers, you kind of have to invest in that, spell casting, right? But yes, you can certainly do that. And because you're weak, this is all doable completely.
And my thought is, I liked the idea of a test build. You've just talked on it. This sounds like something that messing with people's minds and kind of putting the opponent on the back foot rather than being the guy with the sniper rifle or the person with the samurai sword. It's probably more me messing around at the edges more than anything else in terms of combat.
That's definitely, that's a lot of points. It might be much, we'll see, but we can definitely work it out. There's a balancing act for making characters. And just for everybody to know, there's going to be novice characters, which means in Savage Worlds there's 5 ranks. Novice, seasoned, veteran, heroic, legendary. Novice is the level 1 character. And in this game, when you don't really level up, you get advances, and advances are very limited, and you get one about every 2 sessions when you play, 2 or 3 sessions, depending on the GM. And those are generally, so in this game, we're starting as a novice, and you guys will get 1 advance. So just to show how advances work, and you're a little experienced. And then moving on, Lytrenni, what was your concept for your character?
Cool. My concept, I guess, in some ways is the opposite of James. Someone who is highly trained, who's like from an order or some line of people who are very focused on our task in kind of investigating or battling these occults. She's very much more straightforward, a bit more serious, very focused on her job, but has kind of an undercurrent of something darker. She's probably quieter, a little bit more laid back, calculating and watches things, but when something bothers her or when she gets annoyed or irritated by something, will kind of lash out and is very intense in that moment. But otherwise, a bit more laid back, not really the one to make jokes or get into trouble in that particular way until she snaps.
Okay, and just up front, James, there is human. You can either start as a human in this little setting that I whipped up really quickly, or you can start as something what's called a weird. And a weird is somebody who has a supernatural influence. Lytrenni, we're playing a weird.
I am not.
And so, talk about that, and then talk about mechanically with your character, because that's what we're, So what was you kind of thinking character concept mechanically you want to do?
Yes. So my weird comes from the mythological creature of the kumiho, which is a Korean kind of like 9-tailed fox. This a bit of a trickster, a little bit evil. They hunt down evil men and sometimes eat their hearts or livers, just casually. Mechanically, she'll be using her claws, additionally with the ability to like pierce armor. Hopefully, I would like her to be kind of intimidating or menacing in a way, like visually, but
maybe she's a little persuasion too. Are you thinking
a little persuasion,
a little mix of persuasion and intimidation? Yeah, because one of the character traits you have is attractive. Which actually gives you a bonus to persuasion. Yeah.
Yes, she's a little bit scary, but also a little bit attractive at the same time.
When she wants to be, it's kind of that.
Okay. Yes, when she wants to be, and look at my notes real quick. Oh yes, maybe a little bit for something on the other side, a little bit bloodthirsty or vengeful. If you do her wrong, she has,
Oh, cool.
she has her eye on you.
Okay.
Oh my
Very, very
God,
cool.
I'm going to be beaten up by this woman all the time.
Okay, so the character sheets are up. You can kind of see this is how a basic Savage World character sheet looks, especially for this is in Foundry. So you can see what your wounds are, their fatigue, they have the basic kind of things, distracted, there's your bennies, blah, blah, blah. Derived stats will be automatically done for you. Remember, derived stats are pace and toughness, or sorry, parry and toughness. But here we have you have your attributes and you have your skills. So here's how character creation very basically works. In a normal game, you have 12 skill points to spend on skills, and you start with 5 core skills. Now, this is going to vary between settings, but basic Savage Worlds, you have 5. This is kind of like every single kind of person, just being a normal person, learns these things. So that's going to be athletics, common knowledge, notice, persuasion, and stealth. So you start with those as a D4. Now, if you can take hindrances to actually take those away, but that's your basic skills that you start with. And so you get 12 skill points to invest in your skills. You have your 5 different attributes. So agility, smart, spirit, strength, and vigor. And they all start at a D4 because you can't not have a D4 right in those. And you have 5 attribute points to boost those up a step at a time. And the maximum you can have in an attribute, unless there's like a racial or an edge, and same with the skill, is a D12. But certain races of a setting or certain edges might give you like a D12 plus 1 or something that you can actually boost up to. But very basically, D12 is that max. Then there's another thing where you get to choose your hindrances. So remember, hindrances are flaws. Now there's minor and major hindrances. A minor hindrance, they can either be the same hindrance and there's just a minor version and a major version, or there's hindrances that are just either a minor or major. What that basically means is that you take a certain amount of hindrances. You take up to 4 points of hindrances. That's the max that you can take. You can take more, but you won't get any benefits for it. And I've never seen anybody take less. Most games won't let you take less than that anyways. So when I say 4 points, a minor hindrance is worth 1 point, and a major hindrance is worth 2 points. When you take your 4 points of hindrances, you then have 4 free points. Think of it as free points to then spend on other character stuff, right? For 2 points, you can raise an attribute up. For 1 point, you can raise a skill up, or 2 skill, points if the skill is at or above your attribute. And for 2 points, you can take an edge. Okay? Now, races will give you stuff. The very basic human race in all of Savage World is you get to choose a free novice edge. And that's what humans get. Other races might have then bonuses and positives. So for James, in this setting, I've actually done more. You get more than normal. So humans, like you, James, you get a free novice edge of your choice, and you get 2 extra skill points that you can use. So for you, awesome. You will have 14 skill points to spend. Now, for Lytrenni, because she chose a weird, she actually got a bunch of cool stuff. So she got a claws that do D4 plus AP2 damage. She got low light vision, and she got the attractive edge because the kumihos are hot. I don't know what to say. And normally attractive, normally the attraction is just kind of weird. It gives a bonus. If people are attracted to you, I'm just going to say now, Lytrenni, you're everybody's type. Okay. You're a kumiho, you're everybody's type. So expect that bonus to be relevant at all times. But because you're a weird, to balance that out, you automatically have the bloodthirsty hindrance, which is a really, you talk about being straight-laced, but bloodthirsty means that if people aren't looking, if your commanding officer's not looking, you'll just want to kill. If somebody's bad, you'll just want to kill them. So you kind of have a take no prisoners attitude at times if somebody's bad. Cool. And now all of this happens, you can kind of decide how you do things. It's not like you have to do attributes first. You have to do skills first. Not at all. You can kind of decide when you do these certain things. So like, raising attributes up generally is the first thing because that decides your skill tops. Now, as far as hindrances, this is the way that I do it. Carl has a different way of doing it. But for me, when I'm making a character, I know that I'm taking my 4 points of hindrances, and I kind of will often take my hindrances later. It's just I don't want to get bogged down with choosing the specific hindrance yet. I just want to get all my other mechanical stuff done. So for the purpose of this video, we're gonna just not take the hindrances first, unless you guys want to. But so cool. Do we want to do this? Do you think individually or just at the same time?
Let's go through each step if that's okay. So that way I can copy off off Lytrenni and do what she doesn't.
Yeah,
do.
sure. That was my plan.
Okay,
too.
so we'll do
Yeah.
each person first. Then we'll do each person one at a time. Then, right?
Do like go through each section. I think
Each step at a
simultaneously
time.
is what he's saying.
Well, the what I'm saying is though there's not really you can kind of do these however you can approach them edge first. You can approach these doing your attributes first. The only thing that is good to know is that with edges, there's often prerequisites. So if there's a very specific edge that you want, you have to make sure you have that prerequisite first. So I often think about what are the edges that I really want to have, and then and then later on, if I'm like, I can't really afford this edge, I gotta boost the skill up, you can take that away. So you can kind of work this. It's not, there's kind of an organic way of doing this. There's not really a structured way like say D&D, where it's just like, you do this, you do this, you do this, right? So I often will start with a new character. We know what you guys want to do, right? So I often think the easiest way to go about that is what are the essential edges? Now, one thing just to say before we start is that we're playing with an alternate rule called Born the Hero, which means that for your starting character creation, you can actually choose things that are a higher ranks. Remember we talked about ranks?
Yeah.
So often edges will have ranks. They'll be like novice edge, or there'll be a seasoned edge, or maybe even a heroic or legendary edge. For this game, I'm allowing you to take up to seasoned edges.
Cool.
Or we could even say no legendary, but you can take higher ranked things. And that's also for you, James. When you're choosing, if you get your powers, which you will be getting, you can actually choose higher ranked powers for this. So this isn't normal.
I've only been
but for
looking
this
at
game,
novice powers, so that changes everything. That's cool.
Yeah, same.
but now season powers are also going to be more expensive. But so let's start out. Let's start with you, James, because I think the easiest thing for you right now is you want powers.
Yep.
So
Which means
you
I
have to
have
take
arcane background. Is that right?
100%, and you're taking psionics, right?
Well, maybe.
Okay.
Psionics or a representative of the spirit of liberty. Let's go psionics. It's easier to explain.
Hey, Spirit of Liberty, I'd almost say go with that, just because you can be more creative with the powers and the trappings. And that's one thing we didn't talk about in the. Unless you really don't want to, but trappings in this game. So like we said before, especially with powers, everything is setting neutral in this game.
Yep.
You can then customize the trappings of pretty much everything, but especially with powers. So you can really creatively say this is there's the bolt power, but you can say it's a firebolt, an ice ball. You can say it's a bunch of insects being thrown. You can say it's a glob of mucus that's acidic. Whatever you want to do. And besides just being cool, if say you have a lightning bolt, somebody's standing in water, I'll be like, oh, you have a bonus to that because you have a lightning power. So there is kind of like cool narrative things that you can do. But yeah, so again, if you want to choose psionics, but
nope. I've changed my mind.
More fun.
We're doing the spirit of liberty. I'm going to do a spirit-based religious, not religious. Well, yeah, quasi-religion, cult-like power. That'd be cool.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
So make everything easier for you. If you guys if you look in the upper right for Foundry, next to the actor directory, there's a little suitcase that's called items.
Yep.
I've put all the stuff there. You can just go and either search, or you can go under edges and click under background, and you can see arcane background miracles, and you can just drag that into your sheet, and it will automatically put that edge in for you.
So if I type in arcane background miracles,
I will second only the powers folder at the moment.
You only see the powers folder?
I've got hindrances and powers.
I got it. Sorry. I don't know why this didn't save. Here we go. Is you guys seeing it now?
Yep. Let me reopen it.
Hindrances.
Hindrances and powers.
Under default, I see everything.
I'm going all players. I'm going owners. And then I click Save Changes. Then when I go to Configure Powers, it says no change. Okay, let's try this. Owner and okay, do you guys see edges now?
Nope.
That's really weird. Okay, Okay, try going to the compendium. So the compendium is all the way over next to the musical note. There's a little like book icon. See that?
Got it. Yep.
You see,
Default.
if you scroll down under default and you see suede edges, click on that. It will bring up all of the edges there. And you can either do a search or you can click and there's a tree that opens up and like it shows you all the edges.
Right,
Okay, cool.
got
And then you can just drag that into your character sheet.
All right. So I'm using what's arcane? I can search, can't I? So I can search that and get arcane. So I've got arcane background miracles into my edges bit.
And now it automatically added the power tab, which is cool.
Oh my God, it's there.
Very, very cool.
So that's my free one, yeah? I get that one for free.
We'll call that your free one. Yeah, that will be your free human one for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, and now if there's any other, if you think about so for you, James, you want to be good at powers. So one other edge I would highly recommend is getting more power points. The PowerPoint edge is only available once per rank. So because with miracles, you only start with a pool of 10 power points. We might have Carl, maybe we'll do a bonus video about powers separately, explaining the basics of powers to James. Maybe that will be a good.
So this gets each power edge gives me an extra 5 power points. Is that right?
The power points edge will give you 5. You can only take it once right now. So I highly recommend you do one of your hindrance, right? Your two of your 4 hindrance points to get more power points, so you have that bigger pool. It's like getting more spell slots, right? It just makes the most sense.
So I've done that. So that gives me. So now I'll have to take 2 points of hindrances in order to deal with that power point increase. And then my other thought was either famous is kind of that people know me.
Okay,
that's the hindrance, isn't it? Some kind of leadership stuff, commanding or a commanding presence.
Now, leadership would be really good, but leadership is it's a very intensive line. You're not going to get a lot of benefits of it unless you invest a lot. So I wouldn't recommend we even deal with leadership right now.
All right.
The thing that I recommend is as far as another edge, if you want to go more into, you want to get better at persuasion or something, there's some edges for that. You could also then invest either in, remember, your starting arcane background will give you access to 3 powers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those can be, because we're doing the special rule, you can take novice powers or seasoned or heroic, but probably you just look at novice and seasoned. And then when we do the advance, it's just going to be normal novice powers. But if you want to have more than 3 powers, you're going to need to take that either now or for your advance.
So this is an edge for advanced powers?
It's just whenever you want new powers, you have to take the new powers edge.
Oh, okay.
So for you, like I said, powers are very edge intensive. Mm-hmm. There's also edges that make it easier to cast or make your recharge better, stuff like that. So, but very basically, just decide now. You basically have 2 free hindrance points now that you can spend on another edge. Then you have your advance that can give you another edge. So at the most, you can have 2 more edges. If you want more than 3 powers, you have to use one of those edges to get more powers. If that makes sense.
Okay, so let's do that. So I will do both those things. So I'm gonna all in edge is kind of my thinking. Is that most of my stuff's
all
going
in
to go
powers
edges.
Or edges.
So
okay.
I'll get one lot of new powers as an edge, and then I really like the idea of him being famous. I really want the idea of this kind of cultish figure where everyone knows who he is.
Okay, it's going to be hard. I'm just to say for this game that we're running.
Yeah.
it's not really going to be. It might not come up. It's a little hard to sell. Okay, because there is the charismatic edge. If you want to be better at persuasion, there is the charismatic edge.
Sure.
But,
let's do that. Oh, that gives you free rerolls when you're trying to persuade.
Yeah. Now a reroll. We didn't talk about this. We didn't talk about this there. But a reroll acts like a Benny, but it's just one free roll, and it works the same way basically. So yeah, enables you to get. So cool. That's part of your stuff.
I'm totally done. Arcane background in miracles, an extra edge for power points, an extra edge for new powers, and I'm a debonair, charismatic guy. Not attractive though, just charismatic.
Yes. And now charismatic. If we look at charismatic, right? It has a requirement of a spirit of a D8.
Done.
So right there, you know that you need a spirit of a D8.
Which we were going to go down that path anyway because I'm a miracle worker, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Cool. So right now you can just pump your spirit right to a D8.
Will do.
So you click on that little drop-down box and it should If you click on the actual die, it'll give you the option to increase your type.
Done. So
Nice.
that would then cost me
2 points.
2 of my attribute points to get it to a D8.
2 of your 5, correct.
Look, I'm just going to do it now. I want to bump that to D10.
Okay.
Just straight up. That way I know.
All in,
3's
baby.
done. I've got 2 more.
So now you look at, we know for powers are all the distance are often linked to smarts, and you can't spend points for that. But if you want to pump smarts up to a D6, so now you're going to be, vigor of D4. That's very.
So sorry, Lytrenni, you're just going to take a back seat for a minute while I just do most of my stuff. I'm going to add my smarts to D6, and I'm going to add my vigor to D6. I'm going to have a bit of hit points, a bit of range. I'm not an idiot, but basically I'm a charismatic spiritual funnel for the power of living. Sounds great.
And I think for edges, we have your 4 edges because you're a human, and we have the advance. And then normally we would do the advance after finishing. You'd never do advances with, even if you've given them at the beginning of a game. You always do them separately, but because it's not really a big deal, we just did them now. So we can take a break on your skills. We want to move over to Lytrenni.
Sure.
Okay.
So see how I talked about how it's often good to have, if there's any specific edges that you really want, right?
Yes.
So for you, one thing we talked about beforehand is that you want to be a melee fighter, right? You're kind of going to be a tough melee fighter. So we want to increase your attacking, and we want to increase your survivability, right? So
yes, for sure.
One thing that's cool with claws specifically is there's 2 groups of edges that actually increase specifically either if you're just a martial artist like your fist, or they actually benefit claws. Not a bite, only claws. And that's going to be martial artist and brute. Martial artist, and there's an improved version of both of those. Martial artist increases your claw damage by 1 die type, so it'll pump it up from a D4 to a D6. It also gives you +1 to your toughness, right? I'm not even looking. This is all memory. I believe that is so. Yes, martial artist is. Oh, sorry, no, my bad. It doesn't give you +1 to toughness. I got it confused. But it gives you a +2 to your fighting, +2 to a roll. So there's a lot of edges that give static bonuses. +2 to a roll is huge in this game. So, sorry, it's a +1. My bad. Martial warrior. So even a +1 is very big. So it makes you're always considered armed, which you don't have to worry about. But it does give you a +1 to hitting, so it makes you hit easier, and it increases your damage type. And this stacks with everything else that makes your claws better. Brawny, brawler edge. Sorry, not brawny. Brawler edge will actually increase the damage type again by 1 step, and it gives you that +1 toughness. So martial artist is going to make you hit better. Brawler is going to make you tougher, and you can actually combine these if you wanted to. So just first, it's one of those the better kind of route that you wanted to go in.
My initial thought was increasing the potency of the claws because I thought that would be cool.
Yeah.
I have no mechanic reason behind it. I just thought it would be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, both of those do that. Remember, both of those pump up your claw from a D4 to a D6.
Yes. Just one is going to increase when I hit them, and the other one is going to increase my toughness. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. Well, since I probably want more toughness or be able to when having to deal with wounds and stuff like that, I would think that choosing that one would be a smart decision.
Yes, and there's other ways to make that better, but Brawler, if you want to go that way, so Brawler has some more steep requirements of a strength of a D8 and a vigor of a D8. So that's why, as I said, it's good to, if you have an edge that you want, you can then take a look at the requirements. Where a martial artist has the requirement, of just novice and a fighting of a D6. So martial artist has a little bit lesser of a ceiling, but having a strength of that high. Now, when you roll your claws, you're going to roll your strength plus your claw damage. So having a strength of a D8 is going to increase your damage, and vigor of a D8 is increase your toughness. So it's not like it's a bad decision. So if you wanted to stick with Brawler right now.
Yes, let's stick with Brawler, yeah.
Okay, cool. So remember, drag Brawler into your sheet.
We really can do.
And then making it easier, we know
combat
it's a combat.
edge.
Yes, it's a combat edge. Yeah.
Okay, dragged it on there.
And then now we know we need to pump up your strength and your vigor to a D8. So that's going to be
a D8.
2 points in strength and 2 points in vigor. So now you only have 1 point left for attributes.
Ooh, that's big.
Which
Okay.
exactly, that is big. And so you're probably going to want to put a point into agility because that's what fighting is
Yes.
into. So put that point into agility.
I didn't think about that. Interesting. Okay.
Exactly. That's why I really always say it's good to, if there's absolutely
this
essential
first.
edges that you want, do that first. See what requirements that you need.
Yeah.
So now you've spent one of your hindrance point edges, right? You have those 4 hindrance points that are kind of floating around, and you spent 4 of your attribute points. Now you still have 2 hindrance points that you can either use to get an edge, or that you can use to pump up an attribute more. Alternatively, you also have that advance later that you can use for something. So this is where it gets a little tricky, right? Because we're playing Born a Hero, there's some really cool edges that make fighting better. One of them is called Frenzy, which is probably one of the best edges, where it's kind of like a rate of fire for your claws. And it'll actually, every time you do an action for fighting, it gives you another free attack, basically, on one of your actions. So it's a really good way to get more damage out or to attack multiple people. And that's normally something that's for season, but because we're doing that. Now, if you do that now, right, because you're not human, you're not getting those bonus skill points, to have persuasion higher or to have fighting higher, you're gonna have to suspend multiple of your skill points, right? It's gonna cost you more to raise those skills up. But that might be okay, because you're more being a combat-focused character who's really strong. So, it's kind of like, we're kind of working here with, and you talked about, intimidation, right? You want to pump that up,
a little bit,
which is a spirit skill. So you kind of have to decide right now. Do you want to invest in getting this? Yeah.
I was going to say, if that's the case, would there be a benefit to you taking the martial artist edge instead, so I don't have to immediately invest as much and go up to the D8 and the other two?
That is true. So if you took the martial artist edge, you wouldn't have to have such high strength and high vigor.
Then I'd have a little bit more room to play with.
Exactly. That's why it's good to know these kind of quirks.
Know that.
Yeah.
For sure. I think since I wanted to be combat focused, but have a little bit of the intimidating thing, I think it makes more sense to the other one, so I can put a little bit into spirit.
Awesome.
And have a little bit more flexibility there. So I will switch. I will delete, remove, and instead switch to martial artist, which is also a There you go. Gone. Okay, cool. Martial arts requires a D6 in fighting.
In fighting, yes. So for now, you're fine. We know you're going to get there. It's not an issue. So if you want to then maybe you can now redistribute your abilities a little bit. So you pump up spirit to a D6, and then you'd have to move strength or vigor down to a D6. One of those.
And
then you could always even bring them down all ones to D6s and move agility up. But now the cool thing about Okay. Yeah.
Oh no.
Sorry. I was just saying that you can buy armor too to help you with this, but then armor gear has strength. For heavier armor, you need higher strength. So there is a bonus to having. Yeah. Sorry.
I think I'll keep this. Strength would be helpful for doing damage, and vigor will be helpful. For your toughness? That goes into my toughness, yes.
It's also for stuff like soaking wounds. It's also for stuff like dealing with poison or hazard, stuff like that.
I'm going to put that one higher. Why not?
Yeah.
I like that.
Now, that's a really cool thing. Now, there is another. If you want to go a route, there is also the brawny edge, which you could take, which is the background edge. And you could even take that for your later advance, because we're doing this Born a Hero thing. The brawny edge will actually give you a +1 toughness, and it treats your strength 1 die higher when determining encumbrance and minimum strength stuff. So say if you want to wear heavier armor, taking the brawny edge would give you a +1 toughness, and it would allow you to have heavier armor on. So that might be an option, but I know you want to save edges, right? For maybe frenzy or for an intimidation edge or something.
Yeah, right? I had either menacing or intimidation. Or frenzy.
Yeah. Now you can take menacing as your advanced is one of your advances too. So you don't have to take menacing now. You can take frenzy now and then take menacing. If you want both, you can take both.
Oh, right, because of the advance, of course. So I'll take menacing now and frenzy later. Put that on the back burner, I guess.
No, you would take frenzy now because remember we're doing Born the Hero and frenzy's seasoned edge. So you want to take it now for the initial character creation, exactly. And then so we look at frenzy. Now frenzy has a prereq of fighting of D8, which we think we're fine with.
We'll get there. Yes.
You'll get there. So cool. So just let me actually get a paper out just so I can track you guys.
Love this martial artist frenzy, bloodthirsty, attractive.
Exactly. And she's also going to have to take, for menacing, she's going to have to take one of those hindrances, which is kind of a little interesting. Let's actually look at that right now for menacing.
Oh, yes. I looked at this before. There was a plan.
Yeah, so if we look at menacing, the prereqs for that are going to be bloodthirsty. Well, you already have bloodthirsty, so you don't actually even need to take anything. Cool. You don't have to take ugly, which is often the normal one that people take for that. Because you're not ugly, because everybody's into you. So
just a little scary.
Let's start. So you've done all your attribute points, right? We've done a D6, which is 1, spirit, strength, and then 2 in vigor, which is 5. We know that you want a fighting of a D8. You have to have a fighting of a D8. So let's do that now. So again, you can go to the compendium, and there's the swayed skills. And you open that up and actually drag fighting onto your sheet. So you actually start untrained in fighting. Now, when something's untrained, we didn't get to this in the normal video, you still roll a d4, but you have a -2 to the roll. But you also get your wild die still. So anytime there's a skill you're untrained in, you roll your d4 and your d6, and it's at a -2. Remember, fighting's how is parry set. So even for James, I've made characters without fighting, but it's sometimes good to have at least a D4 in it just for that parry bonus, but you don't have to. But for you, Lytrenni, we want to pop it up to a D8, right? So it's 1 point to make it a D4. 1 point, no, it's more than that. It's 1 point for a D4, 1 point for a D6, but your agility is only at a D6. So now it costs you 2 points to raise it to a D8. Remember, once you get
go
to
above
the
your attribute score.
Yes, exactly. Fighting is linked to agility. So to get it, so you have to spend 4 of your 12 points. But, that's how it is. So we'll just say you spent 4 of your 12, pump fighting up to a D8. And I think now we've shaken out all of the basic stuff, and you guys can get into what skills you want. So let's head back to James. James, for you, I think the first thing that you want to add is miracles. That is the arcane skill for your arcane background.
You mean faith?
Again, you can. Faith. Yeah. So you want to drag that in to your skill page, and
I'm cranking this
I'm assuming
up. I'm going to go nuts. I'm going to D12, man.
Oh shit! Okay, so that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, I believe, right? So we have D4, D6, D8, D10, and then D12.
Double.
That's 6 points. That's almost half. You have 14 points to spend, so you're at. And then
another D12 in boating, I think, is going to be an appropriate split between boating and faith. No, just kidding. And so my thought was
pump up persuasion.
Yes, so persuasion. I'm thinking adding another 2 to go up.
You have to for charismatic, right?
Yep.
So that's 8. Yeah.
So I should click on the die. Oh, that's all gone a bit crazy. Do I need to left click and drag persuasion across, do I?
No, it's already up.
How do I up that dice? So
if you click on the little edit button, yeah.
Yep, yeah, we're good. So we're up to D8 in persuasion, so that's another 2. So I've done 6 on faith.
Yep.
8 for persuasion.
2 on persuasion. So you're at 8 out of your 14 skills.
Yes, 8 out of my 14. I'm actually going to take shooting.
Okay.
Bear with me. The mind controlling cult leader also would like an Uzi, but we'll get to that a little later. So shooting, I'm not going to be great at that. I just thought I'll just up it to D6 just to get me so I'm not completely hopeless.
That costs 3 points, just so you know, because your agility is only at a D4.
Okay. Yeah. So that brings me up to
1, 2, 3. That's 11 out of 14. You only have 3 more points left.
Which would be fighting to D6.
Okay. That would be it. You're just Not good at anything else but faith and that's a little bit of shooting and fighting.
There you go. This is okay. We'll see how this plays out when we play.
One thing I would say though, let's take a step back for a second, right? Occult will be used in this game.
Oh, of course.
Other things will be. So if you want an occult,
I can drop faith back to D10 and be boring.
You can drop fighting to a D4. There's powers that you can take to help with your defenses. You're also going to probably stay in the back of it, so, you know.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to drop fighting to D4. There you go. Fighting goes down to D4, and then I dump the rest into occult.
Yes, which you totally can.
Because the occult's based on smarts.
Yeah.
Smarts, I have a D6 in already.
Yeah.
So in order for me to use those 3 points that I've just taken off fighting.
So right now we're at D12. So a 12 in faith is 1,
Yep.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right?
Yep.
And then you have your
Persuasion of
a
8.
D8.
Yep.
Which is
Under
totally
my
fine,
spirit.
which is 3.
Yep.
2, 3, which is 9.
Yep.
And then you took shooting of a D6, which costs you 3. Because it costs
Yep.
1 plus 1, 2. That's 12. You
Yep.
have 2 more points left.
So that would be occult to D8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So yeah,
This is a one shot, right? I don't need to be a well-rounded individual.
Well,
I can just be known for one thing. This is
I
okay.
would say in this game we're going to have a lot of different. We're not just doing combat, and Savage Worlds really benefits from having a wide amount of skills. But I think you're fine. Your powers are what's going to define you. You know. So
I'm a little
having the
concerned
D12
about my lack of boating at this point, but I think I can make it.
We have another person being a vehicle guy. Okay, so moving over to Lytrenni.
That's me.
You've already spent your 4 points for fighting.
Yes.
We know you want intimidation.
Yes, so I was going to put 2 into intimidation to bring it up to a D6.
Yes.
Is that okay? I was checking if that's how it works. Okay.
All languages.
Now D6. That's 2 more points, and I'm at 6 total.
6. Yeah.
Awesome. I have the attractive trait and I have a +1, so I think I want to up my persuasion some. Which I have a D6 currently, so I could up it by. That's one of the
You
main
have
stats. I already started.
D4 in persuasion. You have a D4, so you
So
can
if I-
bump it up to a D6 for 1 point if you wanted.
I'll bump it to D6 then.
Okay.
Oops, that is not the right button. Persuasion. I think athletics is useful because I'm like in melee, so
Yes.
I think that's something that's useful for me.
Very much. The athletics is used for interrupting stuff. It's can be used for grappling, I believe. I always forget, Carl, but I think strength or agility can be athletics can be used for grappling and stuff. And it's just used, for general, athletic ability, right? So it's used for a lot of different stuff. So you're a physical character. I definitely recommend athletics. Maybe pumping up 1 at least, 2 D6.
Yes, if I went to a D8, I need to use 2 points to do that, correct? Because my agility is only at a D6.
Yes, and then you'd be at 10 of your 12.
I think I'll just stick with the D6 for now to make sure I get everything covered.
Okay.
I didn't put anything into smarts, so I'm gonna leave those ones alone. Occult is, occult is spirit, so that's something.
Occult is
I'll put the
smarts.
smarts. Sorry,
But you're fine because
no.
you have a D4, so you can just have a D4 in occult if you want it. Just a kind of basic,
Yeah,
a
I'll do
basic
that.
understanding of occult. Yeah.
I think that's something that she would. Yeah, she's a. So just a basic D4 in occult. Check that, and that brings me to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that correct?
I believe so.
I believe so.
Let's see. So we have 1 there, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's stealthy, so
Never hurts putting a point
Maybe.
into stealth.
yeah, put a point into stealth. Why not?
None of the other. Now, James, just to come back at you for a second, throw a wrench in the a wrench a little bit in the works.
I am not
You guys
stealthy.
don't really. You might be the only healer.
Yes, that's okay. I'm ready to put lots of points in here. But I don't want to
Healing
take it
points-
as a skill because I want this to be a supernatural healing thing.
Okay, but you could have both.
I forgot that healing.
Well, that is true.
But I
Healing
also
could
want
have
to point
both.
out one thing. I also want to point out one thing. If you just had a D4, there's a weird edge called the healer edge, which gives you a +2 on healing rolls. That includes spellcasting healing rolls.
I'm out of edges,
So
man.
I'm just saying you could switch an edge out for the healer edge if you wanted to, just to make yourself have that as one of your cornerstones of being good, both magically and skill based. Just throwing it out there now as like an alternate thing.
we're gonna try to try to die anyway, so don't worry about it. It's a one shot.
Yeah, it's a one
Yeah.
shot. I know
It's
these
2
guys.
sessions. You guys don't want it. You're not gonna have a lot of time. Healing will be, you don't have to take it as a
true.
skill.
And then
You
if I'm
can- yeah.
too good of a healer, it takes away from me being an asshole a bit. Like it's like.
Okay. All right. Do what you're gonna do.
Because the healing
Yeah,
is
he's not
smart.
that guy.
because
I
of
think
my-
I'm just too arrogant and annoying to be. I could lose one in a. Look, all right.
Don't
Let me
worry
drop a
about it.
cult. Let me drop a cult by 1, and I'll go up in skills for healing, just as a
Okay.
backup. So I don't need to use magic all the time to heal people. Does that sound fair? That's what I'm doing,
All right.
and you're on your own, folks.
Yeah, Carl?
Healing.
I was going to say, is anyone else going to have like a D4 in healing maybe or something like that so they can stop the bleed out on the healer?
I have 2 points left. I could do.
For one in healing.
It's only cost me 1 point to go up to a D4. Yeah, why not?
Oh, there's
Well, I
another
think-
3 players. Just get them to do it.
Yeah, I was just asking.
I mean, why not? I think if when she's in her bloodthirsty rage, she doesn't want everyone else around her dying. She wants them to also help her to kill whatever her target is. So maybe that's the motivation. Is like, you get up and help me murder this thing.
Now, Tismate, sorry, I could call you Tismate. Lytrenni, there is
Okay.
there's an interesting thing, just to throw another wrench in the works here. There is the Berserk Edge. You can Barbarian out if you want to. There's a
Is that-
Barbarian option for you.
Is that a novice one? I don't remember looking at that one.
Oh, yeah, it's a novice one.
Oh,
It's a background edge, Berserk. Basically, when you suffer a wound or shaken, you have to make a Sparks roll or go Berserk, and you can voluntarily choose to. What happens is you get your Strength die goes up a type, and every attack must be a wild attack. Now, wild attack is something that we'll talk about in the thing, but basically it means that you get a +2 on your attack and damage, but then you're vulnerable afterwards. You have +2 to your toughness, and you ignore a level of wound penalties. But if you critically fail on a fighting check, you hit a random target, which can be a friend or a foe.
awesome.
So there's an option there. If we want to lean into this, we can trade out one
Part
of
of me
your
that like
menacing.
chaos wants to do it.
Yeah. Hey, it's fun.
I mean, it sounds kind of fun. So there's a part of me instead of frenzy, I guess.
Or instead of menacing, you can decide to take it instead of menacing. You can
Oh, and take it.
um,
Yeah, that's a good one.
You can take the
Yeah,
sword.
I think I'll do that.
Okay.
Why not? Because it's a one shot. We're having fun. Just kind of a
Yeah.
little bit of chaos never hurt anyone. It's not true at all.
And then you
So yeah, I like
you
that
still
idea.
have 2 more skill points, right?
One of them is I could still take the thing in healing because I got
Yeah.
a point. So I will take a
So let's see. you're
just a
at,
D4. That should put me at 11.
Let's see. 1, 2, 5, 6,
I have 11 so far.
7, 8. Okay. Oh, with stealth.
Um,
Yeah.
Is there anything else that I could put up without? I don't think I can increase any of these without having to take 2 points.
Yeah. So you could drop something down. You could
or just be like
take
a
a
jack
new
of all
skill.
trades and just be a little bit of everything. Um,
you could drop stealth down maybe, or keep it there, or you can add on something else like let's see, what are some skills?
OT.
Yeah, none of them really make sense for your character. Survival might be a good basic one for you because you are kind of a
a bit kind of not outdoorsy, but
but
animalistic in that way, I guess.
you can track, and that's for tracking. So
Mm-hmm. Sure. Why not? Yeah, she's got a little bit of everything.
Writing.
She's except for that. Oh, writing. I think you said writing. Yeah.
Cool. So now
not?
we have the part where we could take hindrances. There's also gear selection.
And
We
power.
don't have to go through that necessarily. Oh, for you, we have to do powers. So do we want to talk about powers? I mean, I know we're getting a little long, but we could break this up too. Do we want to talk about powers now or hindrances? What do you think?
I can go pretty quickly on powers. I think I've got a good grasp of what I'd like, and you can tell me how ridiculous that is and why I shouldn't do it. So because I've taken arcane background, that gives me 3 powers. Then I've taken new powers, that gives me another 2 powers. So I get 5 powers to start with, yeah?
And you took new powers as one of your initial Born a Hero edge that gives you that range of having extra powers. I mean, higher ranked powers, my bad. So
Yes,
yeah,
so I
you
can
have 5
take
powers total to choose from. That's correct.
Awesome. So my thinking is, because there's a bit of chaos, there's freedom, all that kind of stuff, plus my healing. So I'm looking at healing as my first power, just
Throw it in.
to keep everyone alive. I love the sound of havoc, just because it's chaos, mischief, shit goes bad when I'm
very
around.
good.
In a similar vein, I like the sound of confusion, another novice power, craziness, it goes down.
Yeah, I personally, I
like
find confusion one of the worst powers in the game.
Excellent.
I just think
lock that in, Eric.
Okay, here it's very cheap, and it does have the air effect, but it's, it only lasts. It's only distracted and vulnerable. You can do that with a test. You can do that for free. So, in my opinion,
but not as an AOE, you can't. So my thinking is being this
That's
test
true.
guy, I can, if there's lots of creatures, I can go, now you're all screwed. For my combat wombat over here to just smash things up.
well, let me put something into here. Stun is a much better power, and
I'm
you can
taking
theme
stun.
it. You can theme it very similarly.
All right, done.
Yeah.
Okay. So instead of confusion, havoc, healing, stun, divination.
Yes, it's very expensive though.
But that could be it, could it not? Oh no, it's heroic.
But-
I can't take heroic powers.
Well, technically you can. I said no legendary, but it's pretty expensive. I would say, I mean, you can do whatever you want. You can be one type of caster. When I do powers, I generally like to have a little bit of, maybe some control, but like some defensive thing, maybe.
Okay.
Or
What's a good
some type of
defensive power?
movement thing. So things that are defensive, there's protection and there's deflection. Deflection makes you harder to hit or other people harder to hit. Protection ups your armor a lot and toughness.
My
So
thought
one of
was I
those-
can have. Yeah, my thought was because I'm weak and feeble, the agency of woe might bequeath me a Kevlar vest that deals with some of those issues.
Well, let's take a look at this for a second, though. So just talk about gear. When you're looking at gear, and now I do have a little special thing for us that you can get magical gear if you spend more money. So generally you start with $500. That's the normal kind of base.
Ooh.
What we're doing is you get $750.
Yep.
It's modern or below, no futuristic. Medieval arms and armor, it's 20% less the price, so subtract 20% from the prices. And if you want a magical or cyber gear, it's double the price, and you can add a quality. This is separate, but you can add something like, for armor, you can add, I forget what I wrote. Let me actually find my thing. So for weapons, you can get a specific damage type, +2 AP, +1 damage. You can treat it as a die type lighter. For armor, you can have +2 armor. You can have damage resistance to one type, like fire, or you can treat it as one die type lighter, and then there's a shield one. But when you're looking at gear, so let's take a look at gear for a second.
So my 2
there's a
thoughts
couple
for gear, just quickly, is
Yes.
Kevlar vest and an Uzi, and that just deals with armor
Okay.
and
Dude, you're like
Well,
totally.
let's
like
take a
me.
look at
That's
these two
me,
things, though.
Uzi man.
Yeah, that is what he chose. But let's look at something. There's some important things to know
Goodness.
when you're looking at gear. So I'm going to go to the gear section right now. Let's start with armor. There's a couple of things that you want to know. So when you're looking at the stats, armor is obviously that armor value. Now, armor piercing, Lytrenni, we forgot to bring it up. Whenever you have
Yes.
armor piercing, so say if in our example there was the 5 toughness from vigor and then 2 armor, so it's a 7. Your claws have 2 armor piercing. So when you attack somebody, you ignore up to 2 points of their armor. So their toughness drops down to a 5.
Got it.
That's what armor piercing does. So for you, we have the Kevlar vest. Now look at the requirements: minimum strength of a D6 and weight of 5.
Okay, I
So-
can't do that.
But you could buy a special magical vest if you wanted to spend $400 on it, which would make it a
I can't afford my
D4.
Uzi. No, that's okay. All
Now-
right, so
Hold on, but let's talk about your
Priorities.
Uzi now. Let's talk about your Uzi.
Yeah.
Let's look at guns. So one thing to know about guns, there's a couple different stats, right? You got your ranges. Those are your inches. So often they're like 12, 24, 48. Those are short, medium, and long range. Short range is no penalty. Medium range is -2. Long range is -4. And then extreme range is anything after that, again, is -6. The damage is what you would roll for damage. AP is armor piercing. Then we have to look at rate of fire, shots, and minimum strength and weight. So rate of fire means that whenever you do a shooting action, that's how much you can actually, just like Frenzy, you get that many shooting dice at once and you can hit that many targets.
Yep.
So what an Uzi has a rate of fire of 3. But I think with an Uzi, correct me if I'm wrong, Carl, I know machine guns can't fire in single target mode, but I think submachine guns can, right?
It's I'm looking at that right now. If they don't
they
specifically
can.
give the rules, then it should be
They can
okay.
fire in single target. Okay, but to take advantage of the Uzi, you can have fire with a rate of fire, but you're going to take a penalty because
that's
you
okay.
don't have certain edge.
I don't particularly want to be effective with it. It's more for show, and it's an add-on. It's okay, Eric. I'm
Okay.
not that.
I just wanted to point it
combat-
out that a pistol, with higher damage might be better because you don't have that penalty. But if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do.
Far less French and flamboyant, though, Eric.
Okay. And notice when you fail, or when you critically fail, when you roll a 1 on your skill die,
Yep.
when you're firing with a rate of fire weapon, if there's innocent bystanders,
Love it. Awesome.
you can
so
attack.
anyway,
them.
I
I'll
have a
return
feeling
back
our
to power.
characters
So
are
now
going to
I'll
become
take
best of
protection.
friends. That's we're going to be best buddies, laying a lot of lead downfield, going see what we hit.
That's the plan. But I'll do so screaming, like, as I fire. So stun, protection, healing, havoc,
You have one
and
more.
puppet.
Ooh. Okay. Very, very cool.
Okay?
Now, one
Which
thing
is
also.
bizarrely the opposite of liberty.
Yes.
So there's this bit of a darker, subversive element to him, which I kind of like, because this idea of everyone is free to do what they want until they don't do what I want, and then I'm going to mind control them.
Ooh. Okay. So one thing. So when we're looking at powers, the rank that's the required rank you have to be. But obviously, because we're doing the special thing, we can go up a rank. Power points, the amount of power points it spends to cast the power.
Activate the power. Yep.
Now, when you activate a power, you say, I want to do this power. You roll the die. Even if it's an opposed roll, remember, you always have to get at least a 4. So if it's just a normal roll to activate, you have to roll 4. If it's an opposed roll, you have to get at least a 4. And the duration is how many rounds it lasts. Rounds are 6 seconds each. And then trappings are whatever trappings you want. So then you can decide right in on the sheet what kind of trappings you want.
Yep.
And then you'll also look, if you scroll down, there's modifiers. Those are specific to the power. Those are added on to the power, when the cost of the power. So if you want to do puppet with multiple people, you can add that on.
Yep.
There's also universal modifiers, which you'll see at the top, which are things like adding range or adding like a shadow thing on top, or lingering damage or armor piercing. All that stuff can be added on. There's also a cool thing that's applicable now, is that we can take limitations based on your trappings. So limitations will make the power in some way limited, but then you'll actually lower the cost of the power points it costs. And if it gets down to a 1 and you go below that, you'll actually get a bonus to casting. So this is a really fun way to kind of, make a power to your trappings and kind of get a bonus out of it. So if we kind of go through your powers, I don't. Some of them, like protection. Okay, let's look at protection. Right. Protection has a range of smarts. So that's your smart side, which is D6. Now, there's a couple limitations that are always applicable, and that's changing the range down to touch and then down to self. So for protection, you could make it a self-only power,
Totally.
but
Yep.
or you could make it just a touch power,
Nope.
and that would give you. Let me actually look. Hold on, with limits. Yeah. So limitations when you go down, a +1 is the maximum. So you want actually get a. You're kind of nerfing yourself a little bit more, but you want
so
to
touch is as good as I can get. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how do I record these in Foundry as I add?
So when you have you dragged the power into your.
I have
So you
not
can
yet,
actually
but
go to the compendium, go to the powers folder, and then drag the power. We'll drag protection in first.
I'll do it. Yep.
And then when you click on the little edit button, so you have a lot, depending on what VTT you're using, but here's what I like to put. You made fun of me for doing this. I do this in Carl's game too. I kind of put the name of however I want to name it up in the top, and then have protection in brackets. And then there, where it says mystical glow, put whatever trappings you in. My character who deals with this kind of like Native American spirit in Carl's game, and goes into like the spirit realm. I use basically I graft on like energy from that realm onto myself to kind of make it harder to hit. So it's kind of a cool thing. Then see where it says range. Delete smarts and put in touch. And then now that you can still cast this on other people, but they have to be in touch range. But now you have a +1 whenever you're casting. Baguette of protection. You
to either be toughness or more armor, or I can touch myself and someone else, and we can do double power.
As long as you're in touch range. See that additional recipients is 1 per person, and then the more armor gets you 4 points or 6 instead of the 2 and 4. And toughness makes it completely so it can't be affected by armor piercing. One thing to also note is
I'll have a play with this while you go through with Lytrenni, but at this stage, we're looking at stun, protection, healing, havoc, and puppet, and then I'll muck around with power levels and ranges and things like that. And
exactly. And just the last thing to know about powers, just before we go, is when you see it says duration 5. But at any point when that duration is about to lapse, you can spend a power point. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter what the power, how expensive it was. If it was 10, and it's just only 1 power point to then extend that another whatever rounds it already is. And but that is, I think it is 1 per. So if you had this on like 5 people, you'd have to spend 5 power points. I believe that's how it works. It's per like target, but it does enable you to have that longer duration. Cool. So going back to you, we have hindrances and we have. Let's talk about hindrances a little bit. I know this is going a little long. We might have to break this up, but we want to be thorough in how we look at hindrances. So you already have Bloodthirsty Major, Lytrenni. You need 4 points of hindrances, right?
I do.
Now some hindrances are kind of mechanical. Some are role playing. Some are a mix. Me and Carl have talked about this a lot in our videos. We go really in depth with hindrances, but we often recommend kind of having a mix of these because some purely mechanical ones are kind of harder to role play, but if you had all role playing ones, it's kind of hard to keep track of that. I think so. I find it good to have a mix, but that's just my own personal thing. Did you have some hindrances that you liked?
I had a couple. So I obviously there's Bloodthirsty already. I was thinking just going into the theme of vengeful. If there's someone that's done wrong to her or her companions potentially that should go after them. Similarly, minor. I was thinking minor.
Okay.
Loyal was one that I thought would be interesting, where like she'll attack anything except for the people that she works with. Those are the ones that she's loyal to. But everyone else, if you mess with any of them, then that's when the vengeful, bloodthirsty kind of side comes out.
Very cool. I thought of a funny one for you.
I thought of a funny one too. What'd you? All thumbs.
I kind of thought because you're also you could have some fun because you're like the supernatural. They might have some like negative things on, technology basically. So that was a cool one I thought for you. But don't if there's any other ones that you want vengeful and you want loyal, right? Those are 2 minor ones. Correct?
Yes. Those ones
So
I
let's
was
drag
playing with.
those
But now
in.
you brought up all thumbs.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, that was kind of funny.
But now you need 4 points. So loyal and vengeful minor are only 2. All thumbs is
oh,
minor.
right,
That's
because
only
Bloodthirsty came with my background. That doesn't count
That's
for the
right.
ones I have to take. There we go. I
Exactly.
didn't forget about that.
yeah.
Oh, so then maybe Vengeful should be a major. Well, I know it's going to be really intense, though, by turning it up to major.
That's a lot on top of Bloodthirsty. You might want to kind of
Yeah.
move it around.
Stick
a
with the
bit.
minor.
Yeah.
So yeah, Vengeful, Loyal, all thumbs. The other one I thought would be funny was going with Big Mouth in the sense of like not a good secret keeper. Like is very into attacking things, not really good in the like. It's very straightforward and just like says whatever.
Yeah. That's fun
I was
too,
thinking the same actually with Big Mouth. It kind of works, but yeah.
Hey, we can have overlap on Hindrances, but that has a lot of Big Mouth thing.
Yeah, I don't know, like a brutally honest type Big Mouth thing, just like a.
Yeah.
For some reason, has some allure that makes them still interesting, and so she kind of occasionally gets away with it, but not usually.
Now I want to point out one cool
two.
hindrance called Quirk, and that's kind of the catch-all that you can customize. Honestly, most of my characters, and Carl will attest to this, has a quirk because I usually like to have something kind of very specific. And settings that you play will often have more hindrances. Now, if I was running this as a full game, I would, totally overhaul the settings and add all these other features and other hindrances. But because we're just doing basics, this is what we have to work with. So that's just another option for you guys. That if there's something that doesn't quite work, quirk is kind of a good, like she like leaves a mark everywhere or something, or she has to, like it can be kind of anything kind of you can think of like that, or
Mark,
leaves
like marker territory everywhere.
Yeah, like her claws on, or like I don't know.
Oh, okay, that's better than
or spray, or pisses everywhere. I don't know. She's kind of.
I think I prefer the claw version for some reason.
Excuse me, I gotta go. Yeah, just spray the wall.
Yeah, I was considering quirk, but I couldn't think. I wasn't really sure what type of things would be good for that one. But even they'll have to leave a mark somewhere. Yeah.
I mean, if you say, what do you want your character flaws to be? We already have Bloodthirsty. Like, don't even look at the hindrances. Like, what do you want your character flaws to be? You want her to be brutally honest, you said, right?
Yes. And very vengeful. Like, if someone does something bad to her, she's going to go back at them as much as possible, which I guess tracks with, like, and she doesn't care if anyone sees, or if anyone, if anyone has anything, she can be very obvious about that. No tact, particularly. Yeah, I think it's a pretty simple character. That's most of what I had.
With Savage Roads, this is something that me and Carl talked about in our hindrance videos. I very often found, I recommend this for GMs, is that sometimes characters don't actually have to start with all their hindrances. And I think it's a lot of times I see people they play a couple sessions in, and they go, I really want to switch my hindrances, and you should absolutely allow it. So often when we play campaign Savage Worlds, because you don't always know your full, when we start a character, we don't always know, right? All of this, it kind of builds organically, and that happens in our game.
Right.
But for a one shot, obviously we're kind of, these are your hindrances, but
fast tracking it for sure.
Yeah.
Then I think for now I'll stick with the ones we mentioned, which was
Vengeful,
Loyal,
all thumbs. And do you want to do a quirk? Or Big Mouth?
Oh no, the quirk. I like her leaving her mark. She has to
She always has to scratch.
Which would probably get in trouble with the agency, being like, oh no, everyone knows who did this because Echo. Yeah, it's probably not great in terms of stealth or subtlety. Oh well. Okay,
and James, did you have a cool? Do you have an
I got some good ones. I think I've got some good ones. All right, so this is a libertarian. So it's all about hedonism. It's all about being free to do what you want to do.
Okay.
So my thinking is that I've got 4 to choose from. Impulsive. So just like I just do stuff on a whim, don't really think things through, very daredevil-y kind of overconfident. I'm biting off more than I can chew all the time. I like the idea of a major habit, so and literal addiction, so an alcohol or drug addiction that because of the hedonism just constantly is like, well, I don't care. I'm just going to do it. And the last one's, which works for my random spraying of Uzis, are yellow, where I'm actually particularly cowardly, but I'm not sure whether our French-Canadian audience would go down very well with me playing a cowardly French person. I'm not sure how that works with that kind of trope. So my thinking is impulsive and habit. both major.
Okay.
Yeah?
Sounds good to me. It's your character.
All right. I'm not a coward, but I'm just going to be impulsive, and I'm addicted to something. I'll work through that before the game. Agent of Chaos. Here it comes.
Oh, God.
I'm
Revenge.
kind
The
of
secret
scared because my
revenge.
character is also impulsive and arrogant. Arrogantly impulsive.
This is
Oh
fantastic.
boy.
With an Uzi?
Who's the leader? Wait, hold on. Who's the leader of this group? We really have to decide. It might be Taylor. It might be
Taylor. It's Taylor.
I think it might be Taylor.
just-
Yeah, she's going to
What?
be the agent. That's
What do you
Yeah.
mean? It's obviously me.
keeping you and keeping you two in line. Oh my God, I feel bad. Okay. Final thing. I've upped your claws damage. Final thing is let's look at gear a little bit, and then we're done. I think you already
Yes.
we'll go back to Lytrenni. So for gear, you don't have to have a weapon. You could still have something like, you could buy grenades. You could get some throwing
grenades.
stuff if you wanted, because you have athletics. Athletics is used for throwing. So if you wanted some like throwing knives or grenades, that might be an option for just to mix it up from your claws. Also
knives are
armor.
fun.
We want armor, right? We really want armor. So you can take a look at that, and you can have medieval armor. You can have modern armor. There is encumbrance. Encumbrance is 20 per strength die. So a D4 strength, you only have 20 pounds. For you, you have a D6 strength, you have 40. So that's just something to know. Again, we have $750, and you guys can have that kind of magical thing. So what were you thinking about as far as gear? Yeah, and there's other gear you can have too, but yeah.
I was initially looking at the modern because I knew it was a modern setting, so I assumed just the Kevlar vest because I have a D6, so I can wear it.
Okay.
So yeah, that was my first.
So now you
thought.
can get it. So one thing, when it says torso or head.
Yes.
And again, if I was doing my own setting, I would have more extensive stuff for this. But there's a cool. Whenever you attack somebody, it's always assumed you're attacking the torso. So that's what generally when it says torso. There's a thing called shots in combat where you can say I'm going to attack the arm, I'm going to attack the leg, the head, and then there's bonuses. And the other thing is you get around that armor, so your armor wouldn't come into place at all. The cool thing about you, James, for protection is that it's just all around, right?
Yeah.
And saxophone armor. So just know that's what it is. Kevlar. The good thing about it, if you look at the modern stuff, is that it like deducts from bullets. So it actually reduces damage by 4. That's what that does. But it's only torso, right? And it's quite heavy at 17 pounds. Now, that's with the ceramic. You could get the Kevlar vest with ceramic inserts, make that magical. Actually, no, you can't. That's too expensive.
I can't. That's
So,
yeah.
But you could still have a magical Kevlar vest and then have like a bonus on top of it if you wanted to, because that's there is magic here. And then you could also get something like you could get a Kevlar vest, right? And then you could still get leather pants or a jacket underneath.
Oh, that's chainmail.
Yeah, exactly. Either you can get like medieval armor for underneath it. You could get the modern armor, so it says like thick coat or leather. You can have like some legs if you wanted to, just to add to your thing. So yeah, it's kind of what you want to do.
I'm not going to lie. I'm a bit disappointed a trebuchet is $50,000. That seems to be excessive.
Yeah, no trebuchets.
So I can't afford all of that stuff. So I guess just like the leather leggings on the medieval for the legs.
Let's see. Well, actually, let me take a look at them quick. So I know I said arms and armor is not there's modern leather. Just use those prices for the leather for the light armor.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, for
I
stuff
didn't
like
even see them over there.
chainmail. Yeah, it's kind of a little. You're like saving money, but it's So when I say medieval ancient armor, that's like chainmail and up. Or if you wanted like a cap or something, but
I didn't look at
for
the
modern
headings.
armor.
That
Just
makes
use those
sense.
prices. Yeah.
Okay, so the leather leggings or legs, riding chaps. That's what they're called.
Riding chaps, sure. $70. So you might want to put $750 in now and start deducting your monies from this.
Okay. $750. That's $70 down. So that's $680. If I get a vest,
200.
That's $200.
And if you want a magical version, that'd be 4.
Yeah, why? 400, so minus more 200 more, so I'm down to 280.
Now you can now it's magical. You can add on another 2 armor. You can add on a damage resistance, or you can treat it as one type. We don't need to do that. So you can give yourself a damage resistance, or you can give yourself more armor. Which is a lot of armor. Maybe I should have made that 1 armor, but it's fine. Well,
But damage resistance is like a type.
You would have minus 4 from
damage.
like fire or something, or yeah.
Damage.
You choose the
resistance,
damage.
Why not?
You chose the damage trapping that you want.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would be specific to that trapping. Yeah.
Fire. Fire's easy.
Cool.
Okay. Chaps, vest. I have 280 left and nothing on my head. I should get something on my head.
You can wear a motorcycle helmet. I mean, whatever. It's a helmet. We'll just say it's a helmet.
Motorcycle helmet's funny though. Oh, it's so much more expensive, but it's still funny, so I kind of want to do it for that reason. Why is the Kevlar helmet cheaper?
Army surplus.
Yeah, I don't know. That's true.
Less fashionable.
I don't understand that either.
I kind of want the like a biker fox sounds cool, so I kind of want to do the motorcycle helmet, even though it's more expensive.
You could say the Kevlar helmet's biker. Honestly, I don't know why that's
A stylized biker helmet.
Yeah,
I'll do the Kevlar one, so I have enough money to buy a couple of knives because I'm only gonna have
knives or
I have
grenades.
200 left.
Ooh, a
Knives
knife.
or grenades, yeah.
I should get a knife.
So let's look at grenades.
Grenades. Oh God, such a different character to mine. It's just like-
Grenades.
That's going to be in special weapons.
Okay.
You could have a shield too if you wanted to. By the way, shields are pretty good for defensive characters. I don't know if you want to use one though. It doesn't make sense, but you can still claw with one hand and use a shield. A shield actually gives you a cover bonus at all times, and it increases your parry. So, up to you.
That's probably smart. Although character-wise, she's probably just like, is she really caring about a shield, or she's kind of just trying to fly in there?
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes sense. Yeah, I'm not going to do it just because I don't think she'd be interested.
So you can see the grenades are on page 78. There's stun grenades, smoke grenades, modern grenade right there. So they're $50 each, pretty much, for a grenade.
I have $200 left, currencies left. A stun grenade and a smoke grenade. Could I get one of each?
$50. I'm getting a stun grenade.
It's too many. Why did I do this? Why have I done this?
One stun grenade, one smoke grenade. That's $100.
Watch James try to throw a grenade and it just lands on all of his friends.
That's right.
You can throw something and it will fail and land somewhere else.
I would like a dagger/knife, which is 25. Oh wait, should I spend all my money or should I keep them? I just realized I'm spending it all.
No, spend all your money. This is like
okay.
This is like your agent gear. Yeah.
So I've taken a 50-foot hemp rope, a 10-foot pole, some caltrops, 1,000 ball bearings.
I'm gonna get 2 daggers, 25 each. I'm left with 50, so I'm gonna get another grenade because that sounds funny.
Cool.
Another.
Now you're gonna have to drag this onto your sheet, and you'll see your encumbrance.
Yes. Oh right, I didn't even think about that part.
I'm right on
I
my
was not
20
counting
pounds.
the weight. Okay.
So you won't have any negatives, James, unless you get anything else.
Just cocaine add? Because cocaine isn't listed in your equipment.
How much cocaine do you have?
I'm working on that. It won't be pounds of it.
Okay.
Got.
Oh, it doesn't have the
Writing
cost
chaps.
once I drag them, so I'm gonna have to work all this out again. Hang on a minute. All right. How much money do we have to start?
$750.
$750.
Oh, okay. That's heaps.
Do I have to do something special to it to indicate it's a magical vest at the moment?
So we'll just add in the description. You can click the edit button and then edit
just do it like
and
that.
just say that it has Then you'll see that if your encumbrance is, it says 15 out of 40 up top. So once you equip them, so you click that little equip button. So you're only at 15 out of 40 right now. So I think you're probably fine.
Oh, should I?
Okay, I've got a stun grenade, a smoke grenade, another stun grenade.
I've
What
gone
about
for flamethrower, 2 surface-to-air missiles.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry, what?
Now don't worry about bullets, Carl and James.
Oh, okay, because I did add extra bullets.
You don't need to add that. We're not gonna. We'll track your magazine. So when you shoot, you will have to like deduct from your magazine. But we're just gonna say it's a one shot. We're just gonna say you have enough bullets. So you'll have the reloading is an action in the game, but we're not gonna worry about having enough bullets. You'll have enough. It's not a survival game, so I'm not gonna worry about that right now.
So, just to let you know, I have gone with my equipment. Sans bullets, because I'll remove those in a second. An Uzi, some pepper spray, a stun grenade, a thick coat, leather jacket, because that's all my strength could bear, a switchblade, and some pepper spray, which leaves me $250 of cocaine.
Oh my God! No! What have I done? So much
Is that
money.
okay?
Well, again, so how much is the leather coat? You could make it a magical coat, or you could make your Uzi magical or something if you have enough money. So just an option.
But would that not mean less cocaine though?
I guess so.
Okay.
Okay.
It's
It is
$250 of cocaine.
yeah. That's not that much cocaine.
That much.
That's not that much.
It's not.
That's
You're a
enough to last
government
a one
agent.
shot.
You're a
Yeah.
government agent.
Yeah, but
Here's a
Is
dirty
it illegal
secret.
in this
Oh, not
world?
government. You're not actually government. You guys are a multinational organization. Government power has waned. If you guys notice, you don't need to be in like suits. They pretty much at some point they tried to do that in WoW, but they were like, we have too many freaks and weirdos that we need to have individual. We're an agency, but there is like people can dress how they want, kind of, and yeah. Once you have like weird people with talking to gods and creatures, that you're like, okay, we can't have them out. We can't have a uniform. So
I'm cool with it. That's all I need.
okay.
I'm rolling D12s for mind control. What do I need the equipment for? I'll
Oh
be cool.
my God, you maniac.
Okay, so the everybody's set up for
I'm all good.
this episode.
I think we're good.
All right.
I'm terrified of
Yeah.
how short this character's life's going to be, but it's going to be cool.
Great. All right. Want me to play us out, so to speak? All right,
Yeah.
everybody. This was Tabletop Tango, and you got a chance to see character creation. You got a chance to see or hear about the rules in depth. And I'm Carl with the crew here, everybody. And you'll see us when we actually play the game coming up. So keep a lookout for that. So have a good night, good day.
Been a Benny on a soul road.